Hosting for the Dice Tower is generously provided by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com. Thanks for your support. The Dice Tower, episode 497.
Games in space!
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, we have some catching up to do after our little break, but Tom spends all his time talking about one game. Also, we have a bonus action, a tale of betrayal, questions about print runs, inappropriate exclamations in restaurants, El Cheapo reprints, and where to go from King of Tokyo, and Tom and I share our top 10 space games. Spoiler alert, it's our favorite theme. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Link Hogthrob to my Dr. Strangepork, Tom Vassell.
That's right.
Very nice, and I love how I get to be Strangepork. Thank you very much.
Wait, you're the guy who did the intro.
Yes, I wrote that and left it for me to read.
Hey, man, I never do the intros. I wanted to write one for once.
I know, occasionally, when I arrive at the document and there's one waiting for me, I'm going to take it because, you know,
actually,
you're obviously
I thought maybe we've done this one before because you are a Muppets fan.
I'm sure we've done other Muppets. I think we've done the Bunsen to my beaker before.
No, we've definitely done that.
Yeah.
No, I thought you would approve of this one in a heartbeat anyway.
Absolutely. There's no argument here.
Folks, my name is Tom Vassell.
Hi there. I'm Eric Summerer.
And we've been gone for a couple weeks.
We have.
So, sorry about that. But
We've been working, though.
There has been so much. And I don't want to complain at all because I'm kind of pumped, right? I'm excited because it's the beginning of the game year. Is here.
It is. We're heading into the convention season.
Right. We're actually recording this before I'm flying out to PAX. I'll do a PAX overview in episode 499. I'll talk a little bit about what I saw there.
Cool.
Even by the time you're listening to this, it will be over.
Yes.
And we'll be at Gamma. So actually, if you're listening to this right now, then stop. Go listen to it later.
Okay.
Because we're streaming live from Gamma right now.
Yeah.
So, or at least, what are the dates? I don't have my watch on. It's March 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Yes, that is when we're streaming, the 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Right. So anyway, folks, if you want to listen on the 14th, 15th, and 16th, you can go to our YouTube channel at the Dice Tower and see us streaming. We're going to be talking to lots of publishers. We have 8 hours each day that are jam-packed with every publisher. I'm really excited about this. There's a lot of publishers we're talking to. You'll see a lot of different people on screen talking to the publishers. You'll barely see me at all, actually.
Yeah, you usually disappear and hobnob most of the time.
If that's what you want to call it. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of things that we need to do.
Yeah.
And I get to be on screen all the time anyway. So it's time for Eric to make his debut in 2017.
Sure.
Isn't this would be the first time you're on video in 2017, I believe.
No, there was one video that came in at the last minute in January to finish off my quota.
Didn't you promise to review something else for us?
I have one that's still in the hopper, yes. I've got a big old Firefly crate that I need to...
That's right.
Video.
Well, folks, anyway, if you come and watch us as we stream these, you can also... some of the publishers, not all of them, but some of them will come and will ask questions to them also. So you will have a chance to ask some questions through the live chat, and maybe they'll answer your questions. We'll see.
Nice.
So with all that being said, that's the beginning of the gaming year. Those things are going on. We're inching closer to episode 500. So this is our last normal top 10 before we switch over to the new format in 501.
Right, when everything is an alternate top 10.
You'll see, folks. Don't worry, the top 10s aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But we're going to get started here, talking about some games that we played. I'm going to let Eric do all his games first, and then I'll do mine.
Wow. Okay.
That's how nice I'm feeling generous.
Yeah, you just want to build up the tension toward yours. let's start with a game called Isle of Monsters. This is from Mayday Games. And it's a little Pokemon-y. You're collecting monsters, and then you're sending them off to battle and hopefully earning applause from the crowd. So the way you set this up, you've got your players around the table, and then there are little boards that separate the players. So in a 3-player game, you would have like 3 little sideboards, and then the players sit in between them. There's also a center board. And little tokens, food tokens, go on each of these boards. At the beginning of each round, I think then in that 3-player game, you get 3 of them in the middle, and you get 2 on each sideboard. And there are stacks of cards on those sideboards, and those cards have monsters on them. And those monsters range in value from 1 to 9, and they all have feeding spaces on them. So you can acquire these cards into your cage boards. You got 3 slots for those. And you can take actions to acquire food to feed your creatures. And you can either do one or the other. That's your action choice, is take a card or take food. And of course, you're competing for the food, so you want to make sure you're grabbing stuff before your opponents. At the end of that round, once everybody's passed, you see who has been fully fed. And if they have been fully fed, they're matured, and they're now in your scare deck. And these monsters now will battle throughout the course of the game, and they will continue to come back each round. But you can use each card only once each round. So then everybody simultaneously puts 1 or more of the same suit of these creatures. They're in 3 different colors. And everybody turns them up simultaneously. So you may have only 1 creature, you may have multiple creatures in the same color. And you see who has the biggest total, who was the biggest scary monster, and they get 3 points. If there's a tie, they get a point each. And then there's a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing, like water monsters always defeat fire monsters, and fire monsters always defeat rock monsters, and rock monsters always defeat water monsters. And if you defeat your opponents, you get a point as well.
You're not defeating them, you're scaring them.
You're scaring them, yes. So it doesn't matter how strong they are, it's just if your type beats their type, you get another point. You continue like this until either everybody's out of monsters or only 1 player has monsters, then they get a point each for each remaining monster they've got. So at the beginning of the game, you're only dealing with, a round or 2 of this, as people have only completed 1 or 2 monsters. But as the game continues, you will have completed more monsters, maybe more powerful monsters, and then you've got this bluffing element, like when I know he's got a 9 fire monster that he's been whooping us with. When's he going to play it? Is he going to play it first? In the first round, is he going to hold it back and wait? Is he going to play multiple monsters to try and team up, or spread them out so that he wins more rounds, or goes for the rock, paper, scissors thing more often and tries to get points that way? This continues until you run your way through the deck. Most points wins. Pretty simple, straightforward. I liked it. I liked that tough decision making in the battle rounds. And also in your recruitment of, do I grab a bunch of middle or low value monsters so that I can outlast my opponents in the scare rounds? Or do I take the time and energy and more food tokens to build up the 8s and 9s that I know will win a round or 2? Or, do I get a couple of 1s and 2s and add them to that 9 so that I know I defeat somebody who also has a 9? It's kind of neat. Light, quick, simple. I do prefer the 3 or 4 player game to the 2-player game. I think the 2-player game's a little weird, a little limited. More players.
I would go farther than that. You shouldn't play this game with 2 players.
Yeah, there's variant rules where you end up with more cages, and it's almost like you're playing 2-player games if you're going to do it that way. But no, definitely play this 3 or 4. But I did like it. The art is cute. It was easy enough for my son to understand the game. And, it was a good time. I liked it. That's Isle of Monsters from Mayday Games. I like this one?
Yeah, I like it. It's like you said, it's light. Like the first part is like a drafting almost, like you're drafting resources.
Right.
Then mixed with a rock, paper, scissors type aspect. Although it's not really rock, paper. It's hard to explain. It's like kind of rock, paper, scissors. But it's mostly just trying to guess when the other person's going to play their cards.
Right. Yeah, you can't really... Unless you've totally memorized what the opponents have, you can't really guess that. It's more of, when are they going to play that big hammer-throwing dude that I know that they have in their hand? Are they playing it early, late, middle? Are they saving it for the last round, etc.? That's more of the decision to be made.
Cool. What else you got for us?
Is Wind the Film. This I alluded to this a few weeks ago from Sashi and Sashi. This is a card game. This company, this is a Japanese design studio, and they have come up with some really interesting themes for their games. They did Coffee Roaster, and they did Take the A Chord, both games that I appreciated but wasn't terribly taken with. This one I liked a good bit. In Wind the Film, you are trying to collect sets of cards. There's 7 different suits. The theme doesn't really matter. You're playing with a half-frame camera, which was apparently very popular in the 1960s and 70s. And you're collecting little scenes, and they come in 7 different suits, 7 different colors, and they range in value from 1 to 12. And you now have this array of cards. Some are face up and some are face down on the table. So you can see on the back side of the cards what suit they're in and whether they range from 1 to 6 or 7 to 12. If they're face up, obviously, you see exactly what number they are, and there's only one of each number in the deck. You also have a hand of cards that cannot be adjusted outside of the rules of the game. This is kind of like Bonanza, where you get your hand of cards and you have to mesh with it and live with the arrangement of the cards unless you do something to change that array. So you will choose on your turn to take 1, 2, or 3 cards from the outside working in on the array. And you will take those cards into your hand, and you have to take them in order into the front of your hand. 1, 2, 3, or just 1, or just 2. You then get to move 1 card in your hand forward. They call that the winding of the film. That can move as many spaces as you want, but only 1 card gets to move. And then, if you played 1 card, or you took 1 card, you now need to play 1 card in front of you. If you took 2 cards, you need to play 2 cards in front of you, and 3 and 3. From the back of your hand. So you've been able to see that these are the cards I'm going to play. If I take 3 cards, I have to play these 3 cards from my hand. And you're playing them in front of you into tableaus, and you're trying to build those tableaus in as close to order as you can. So if I have, say, the red 4, I can only play 3 numbers ahead or behind that. And I'm trying to create sort of film strips in these tableaus, in these suits.
This theme sounds weak.
The theme does sound weak, but the mechanics are interesting. It's tricky to get a handle on this. If I set this in motion and grab these cards that I know I want, I'm going to be forced to play these. And if I don't play within those legal ranges, I'm going to lose points. And I don't get the sequences I wanted. Because if I do manage to stay in sequence and play them in order and play enough cards in a suit, I can get bonus points for being, say, the first one to play 3 blue cards. Yay, you did it right. It's one you really have to wrestle with the mechanisms, but I appreciate that wrestling. This was very interesting. It's a little like Lost Cities in the building of your tableau. It's a little like Bonanza with the hand manipulation, and it's also got a positional element with the cards that are in the array. And if I take this one, if I don't take this card that I can see, that I know I need, somebody else is going to take it, or it won't be there by the time it comes back around to me. Wind the Film is interesting. Now, I have seen this on Board Game Geek for, I believe, $30. I don't know if it's worth $30. But, I mean, it's a small card game. It's like the Amigo size card game box. If it was less than 20, if it's under $20, I'd consider it. 30 seems like a lot for this game. It's still interesting. And certainly a theme and a set of mechanisms you don't see anywhere else. So, still thumbs up for Wind the Film. From Sashi and Sashi. Last up is another small game. This is called Mintworks. It comes in a tin.
Eric is not kidding. This is a really small game.
This is a very small game. It comes in a tin. It is styled to look like an Altoids box. It is full of mint-shaped wooden pieces. These are your workers, but you could really consider them just, money. It's sort of a civ building game. A worker placement game. You've got a bunch of cards in the center that are locations where you can play your workers. You start out with 3 of them at the beginning of the game. And one of the things you can do is grab plan cards. There will be a number of them out that you can grab. And they will cost a certain number of workers. So, the really good plans will cost more workers to build. But you can acquire those into your hands. You can play workers to play cards that you have in your hand out in front of you, which give you some sort of benefit. Some will earn you income. Some are endgame points. It is, the basic tropes of a worker placement game. There's some economy things where if I play a mint here, then I get 2 mints from the bank. There's a crowdfunding card that if I play here, I give everybody 1, but I get 3. So you're trying to maintain your economy of grabbing more of these mints, more of these workers, playing the cards from your hands. Eventually, you're trying to get to 7 points. Some of the cards have point cards on them. Some are even modifiers that earn points for getting other cards. It plays very, very quickly. This is over fast. There's a good amount to wrestle with, a good amount to play with in this game, but it's still pretty light. And I was a little disappointed. I mean, they go for this very small footprint game with a limited number of pieces because it all fits in this tiny little tin. But as such, in a 4-player game, it is very easy to run out of mints, because many are being played on cards and you're getting them from the bank. And we actually had to break into another game and use, proxies to fill out all of the mints that need to be paid
Eric, you don't need to do that. If you need to place 3 mints on a spot, you technically only need to place 1 there. Just put the other 2 into supply.
You do, and even with doing that, we started to run out. I mean, yes, you play it very close to the edge. I wish there were a few more mints in that box so that it was easier to keep the economy flowing. But anyway, okay. I still enjoyed the game. It was not quite as deep as I was hoping, but it's still a nice little portable worker placement game that is, I think, accessible. You could certainly introduce this as an introductory worker placement game, introductory engine building game that would work well with non-gamers as well. That's Mintworks, thumbs up as well. I think 3 great games right there.
I don't know, Eric. I think I like Mintworks more than you, but I don't think that's a great review from you. You said 3 great games, but you didn't make that sound great. You made it sound decent.
3. I'm just happy that I'm happy with all 3 of those games.
Oh, okay. So you're just okay. Whatever. I think I like Mintworks more than Eric, which is odd because I usually kind of get on the case about these micro games, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the times where the micro game aspect works. First of all, this game you literally can put in your pocket.
Oh, yeah.
This game also does not call itself epic. All right? It just... No, okay. I'm serious. It's not pretending to be this big game in a small box. It's a small game in a small box.
Okay.
It's a nice little worker placement game that plays exceptionally well with 2 players.
Ah, okay. I played with 4, so...
Well, I did too, but I think I liked it best with 2. But I'm just saying that I don't think that the game was, anything amazing. But for the small footprint, I actually added it to my collection.
Okay. Well, I mean, you wouldn't notice if you had or not. It's so small.
That's why I added it to my collection.
Yeah, so I thought so.
All right, I just have 1 game to talk about this week, but I thought I might talk about it as much as I talk about any 3 games. And that's Gloomhaven.
Oh, boy.
Now, Gloomhaven is from Cephalopod Games. Cephalopod is basically just a one-man show, I think. Do you know if there's more than one person involved with Cephalopod?
I do not.
Well, anyway, I played a Cephalopod game a year and a half ago before. I'm sorry, Cephalofair Games. Is it
okay.
Cephalofair Games? Yeah, Cephalofair
Well,
Games.
that one I know tons about. Actually, no, I don't.
Their first game was Forge War. I don't believe, Eric, you played Forge War. Forge War was this mega Euro game that just tried to throw a whole ton of things in a box where you went and did this like mini game to mine stuff, and then you used that stuff to build weapons, and you armed people, and they went off on adventures. And there was a lot of good concepts in the game, but it was too long and just too much. Like a good editor needed to come in and do this. Well, he then made Gloomhaven, which was bigger than Forge War.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not exaggerating. Eric I think you saw the box for Gloomhaven at Essen, right?
I've seen pictures of this box. It's large.
It's large and in charge. No kidding. It's the biggest. It's the biggest box that I've seen since the
Ogre
Fantasy Flight coffin box. Yeah, it's not as big as Ogre. It's taller than Ogre. Anyway, it's a huge box. What Gloomhaven is it's an adventure fantasy game in which you cooperatively work together, up to 4 different heroes going through these different adventures and fighting monsters. So it's very similar to games like Descent, and that ilk. You're going to be going into dungeons and different places and fighting monsters and getting treasure, etc. Now, this game is set up to be a sort of legacy game, although it's not. It's partially legacy.
Okay.
It's a campaign, right? But this game can be reset easier than most. There's a few things that can't be reset, but like, for example, there might be a card that says this card's removed from the game. I simply can just put that card aside and add it back in if you want it to start over again. There's a few stickers and things that are involved, but Gloomhaven takes place in the city of Gloomhaven. It was named by a couple cheerful clowns, I believe. That's like the main focus of this game is this city and then the surrounding areas to this city. And it's a fantasy world unlike any I've seen before. The different races in this game are unique. I think I saw there's skeletons and a few other things that I've seen from other games, but we're not seeing the dwarves and elves and goblins and orcs type stuff. You're seeing different races, and they're similar to other things you might have seen, but it's a whole new thing, and that follows through with the classes. Now there are 6 classes that you can pick to play this game, but it looks like there's 13 other classes that you can unlock as you do different things over the course of the game. Each of these classes is very unique. I wouldn't even know how to classify them. I wouldn't say, oh, this one's the mage, this one's the fighter, this one's the archer, etc. They just have a very unique, interesting feel to them. So when you play this game, you're going into a dungeon for the most part of the game. But before you go to dungeon, you can go to the city and you can do different things in the city. And like when you're in the city, you might draw a card and that card will say, you come across a vermling thief who offers you a chocolate chip cookie. Do you eat it or not?
No, don't. Don't do it.
No, that's not actually one of them, but things like that. And it's really well written stuff. I mean, I'm very impressed with the writing of this. And then you make a choice, you flip the card over, you see what your choice does. Sometimes this card will have future effects. They like took the idea from Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the game, there's a 30-card city deck and a 30-card road deck that you will, if you travel from one place to another, you have to draw a card from the road deck. And if you decide to have an action in the city, you draw a card from the city deck and you do what I just said. Mm-hmm. But sometimes different things will say, stick card 63 in the city deck.
Ooh.
Stick card 15 in this deck. And there's like another 80 cards that can be added to these decks. And that, like, your characters in this game can actually retire. They will retire. Each character gets a goal at the beginning of the game.
Okay.
Your goal can be all sorts of different things, from getting a pile of money to beating a bunch of boss monsters, whatever. When you get to that goal, you are forced to retire your character. No big deal. That unlocks a new character. You'll be able, or you could even play the same type of character over again if you want to. But when you retire a character, it will stick a card in one of those decks.
Oh. So you could meet that guy on the road.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Huh. I really like that. It's like, oh, we know that guy. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Neat. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. Now, that is the outside of the game. The main focus of the game happens in these dungeons. You go to different places, you go through, you fight monsters. But it's a very unique combat system. Each player has a hand of cards. Now, at the beginning of the game, you have a basic set of cards. But as you go up in levels, you're going to get more of these cards that you have a choice of. And so let's say I'm a class that gives me 10 cards. So I have a hand of 10 cards. Each round of combat, I'm going to play 2 of these cards. Each card has a number on it, and I'll pick one of those 2 numbers to be my initiative that round. And then, so that way it's a way to determine who goes first, etc. Mm-hmm. And then the cards are split in the tops and bottoms, and I'm going to play the top of one card and the bottom of another card. Now, you're always allowed to play the bottom of a card as a move 2 and the top of a card as an attack 2.
Okay.
But usually you're going to play them for whatever they are. And they're all kinds of crazy stuff. It might say attack 3, range 2. That's like a super simple one. But it might say, move here, attack, and then move here. Or loot some coins. I mean, they have all kinds of interesting things. And as the game goes by, they become more unique and more interesting for your character. Your character feels extremely different from everybody else. Now, when you attack somebody, let's say I use the normal attack 2 on a character next to me. I do 2 damage to him. That's it. There's no dice rolling. But instead, I draw from a small deck of cards. There's a 20-card deck that you give your characters. It's the same for everybody. In it are some -1s, -2s, +0s, +1s, +2s, a double damage, and a complete miss card. So you draw a card, and it modifies your attack. Okay, no big deal. That kind of evens out the randomness. But as your character goes up in levels and through other means, you can add cards to that modifier deck. And so, like, in one of my characters, I added a +2 fire attack card. So my attack does +2 and gives me some fire. I added one that it pushes the enemy 2 spaces, and then I need to draw another card from my modifier deck. So your modifier deck gets more interesting. And as you go up a level, I pick an option. Each character has different options. And I might say, take 4 -1s out of your deck.
Wow.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. Or I had one that's like, add 1 -2 and 2 +2s. And I was like, oh, do I want to do that? Yeah, I do. Or do I want to just add a +3? And I really like this. It's, if you're cursed, you'll take like a couple miss cards and you shuffle them into that deck. And then when you draw them, they're discarded, but you've missed. And if you're blessed, you draw some of the double damages and throw them in the deck. It's a really cool way to modify your character. So between that and the cards in your hand, this is like so much strategy in the game. In fact, a lot of people call it like a Euro game dungeon crawl.
Okay.
Now, here's the problems. The game is really hard, at least at the beginning. Now, I'm like kind of kicking its butt right now, but that's because I'm playing on an easier level than it recommends. It gives you like normal level and easy level, and then hard, very hard, etc. And I'm like, okay, I'll play it on normal level. Woo! You get killed on normal level because these cards you play are discarded. But sometimes when you play these cards from your hand, if they have like an amazing action on them, you lose the card. You can't use it again for that battle. Well, you need to rest to get your cards back, and you only get back the cards you discarded. So if you have 10 cards, you have 5 turns. Then you have to rest, and then you have 5 turns. But every time you rest, you have to lose 1 card permanently. It's to show your fatigue. So the game has kind of a countdown timer in it.
Ooh.
So you need to get stuff done now. And those really awesome attacks that make you lose the card, you need to not use them in the first room on the first enemy.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you do. But you learn that as time goes by. And so it's hard. And so I recommend if you're playing this for the first time, play on the easiest level.
Okay.
Not even a question, right? And once you get to level 2, then you're like, ooh, now I'm getting some cool options. Now my modifier deck is a little bit different. Ooh, I got the level 3. I'm so pumped I got the level 3. I'm really feeling like, yeah, I'm a cool character now. I can't wait to get to level 4. And you can play through random dungeons. There's, I think, 80, maybe 90 dungeons in the book. It's a ton of dungeons to go through.
Wow.
And you can play through with different characters. Like I went through a party with Sam Z and Derek, a 4-person party. And then they left, and I was like, oh, I don't want to wait for these guys. So I played with the other 2 starting characters. And those are the guys I have up to level 3. I played the game over 10 times now.
Okay.
Solo.
What? Wait, what?
I know. So it takes a while to set this game up. There's a lot of pieces.
That's why you just don't want to put it away. I get it.
Yeah, well, actually, I have left it out several times. It's, the table where you put the stuff on top because there's a game being played. I hardly ever use that function, but I've used it a lot in the past couple weeks.
Nice.
The monsters are miniatures. The characters are miniatures. The monsters are stand-up figures. And there is a lot of them. There's just a huge amount of pieces in the box. So setup and takedown can be a bear. The game itself says 30 minutes per player. That's true. I would say 30 minutes per character makes more sense. If I play solo, I play with 2 characters.
Right, okay.
And that's reasonable. And there's a learning curve to playing it for sure. But despite the component problems, and despite the fact that it's pretty hard at the beginning, and I wish that they had made it a little bit of an easier curve to get into, because I think that negatively will impact some people when they first play it.
Mm-hmm.
Despite that, I think my current rating of this game is a 10.
Wow.
I think it's going to replace Descent for me completely.
Man.
I love rolling dice. I really do, right? And it takes the dice rolling out. But the way each character feels so different. Like, I'm really attached to my characters now. When they retire, I'll be sad. But I'll be opening up new characters then. And I can't wait to see what these other 13 characters are.
Yeah.
And using them. And also the city itself is growing. Like, when you finish a mission, sometimes it will say +1 prosperity. And so you add that to the city. When the city gets like to 5 prosperity, the city level goes up by 1. And what that means is when you go to the store to buy weapons, right now only cards 1 through 14 are available to buy, but that adds another 10 different items to the store.
Oh.
See, I know you're not a big dungeon crawl type of guy, but I think you would like this game though, Eric.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing people talk about it, and on its face, this is not a game that I would be playing. I mean, the size of the box gives me storage chills. Like, I don't know what I would do with that if I had it. But people keep talking about the mechanisms of this game, and it sounds really fun.
Well, here's the deal, though. You are pretty close to having a perfectly aged son to play through this with.
Yeah?
I'm just saying.
Oh, man. But okay. So I've ordered Mechs vs. Minions. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm in that second production run. And so that is going to be this particular slot. Maybe by the time that we work our way through that, I will, there will be some used copies of Gloomhaven out, and maybe I can get it for less expensive than it is.
And that's the biggest negative, folks, really. It's really expensive right now because it's hard to find. This game was ridiculously priced on the Kickstarter. I think people got it for like $85.
Wow.
That's insane. It's selling. My local store had it for $250.
No, I'm not buying. No.
No, buy a Switch.
Yikes.
Did you buy a Switch, Eric?
I did not buy a Switch. I'm resisting buying a Switch for the same reason I've resisted buying a PS4. I would have to get rid of one of my older systems to make room for it.
Here's the reason I'm considering buying a Switch, because I can take it on the airplane with me.
I have work to do on airplanes.
Well, yeah, that's true. Stop being so sensible, Eric. I have not bought one. Although I did go look in the store to see if there was one today.
Yeah.
I just was by it. I just was looking. That's all I was doing.
Okay, just looking. I'm still waiting for the NES Classic to come back into stock. By golly. That I think I have room for.
Oh, you never got one of those?
No, I missed the wave. Like, before Christmas, if you didn't get it on day one, you weren't getting one, and they still haven't come back in stock.
So you can see, folks, that we transitioned from board games to video games, but the reason that part of that happened is because, well, Gloomhaven is expensive, but it's because I actually was going to sit and play some computer games at my desk, and I was like, no, I'd rather go play Gloomhaven. And that's a rare thing, right? People are we're going to start getting these threads. Is Tom becoming a solo gamer? First Mansions of Madness, now this? Probably not. It's just that when the game has a super strong story, I get caught up into it. You know what I was doing in Gloomhaven? I was grinding. I was playing these dungeons just to get up leveled. Like, I was playing some random dungeons. Like, I don't care. I'm just doing this to make my guy go up, get some more experience so I can go up a level.
Wow.
Man, I'm really like it. But folks, don't worry. He's going to run another Kickstarter sometime this year. So I guess we just did a major Kickstarter preview. I don't mean to do that.
Yeah, that wasn't the intent, but yeah, apparently.
Man, this was on the hotness on BGG for like a month, like number one. It's just been knocked out by Rising Sun, which is
currently tearing it up
everything.
on Kickstarter as well. Yeah.
This year is, I mean, between Gloomhaven and Santorini, those are like two games. They're very different too, but two games that have just blown me away. I'm just very pleased that it's happened this early. Usually by the time we get to March, I'm like, man, I can't wait to play a good game. And Pandemic Legacy hasn't even come out yet.
Not yet.
This year is looking good, though. I'll tell you that. It's looking good just from games we know about.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're sure to get some sort of surprise in the next couple months.
Oh, yeah. Wait till episode 499 when we'll talk about all the stuff that will be shown at Gamma.
Gamma is always fun because, publishers have stuff that they've been holding on to and they're going to tell all the retailers about.
Oh, and Caravan is about to come out soon,
Oh,
too.
man.
What a good year so far. We really do live in an era where there's more amazing board games come out than you can actually play.
It's true.
So in that case, don't feel like you have to get them all. Just get the ones that you think would interest you the most.
Right.
Hello, I'm Skip Hampton with yet another tale of betrayal. In my quest to evangelize board gaming, or more so to get more people to play board games with me, I'm usually trying to introduce games to people. From family to friends to coworkers, I am always looking for the people that want to play games with me. I had gotten a rather sizable group of coworkers from my previous job into playing board games, but the downside was that they never wanted to split the group into more than one game, and they tended to avoid learning new games. This led us to have to play game after game of the same games that usually were larger player count social deduction games. One game that had a particularly long reign as their game of choice was The Resistance. After many games, we had certain tendencies that came up among the group, like a spy on a two-player mission would never play a fail because they feared that it would put too much of a spotlight on them, or spies never putting another spy on the same team unless more than one fail card is required. On this particular game day, we only had 6 players, a low count for this group, and of course the Resistance came out. After a few rounds, I was dealt a spy card, and I was also randomly determined to be the first leader, and I decided to shake things up. The game started quite normally. We all closed our eyes. Me and my fellow spy opened our eyes to learn who we were working with, and I selected a team. Of course, I would be on the team, so I could prove that I wasn't a spy, and I selected another player who was known for being quite good at deception. We will call her Sarah. The team was immediately approved, since there was no reason not to trust us, and Sarah and I selected our cards. I was typically in charge of revealing cards since I was sort of the game master of the group, so I collected the cards, mixed them up, and as I turned them over, I casually said, "Well, there shouldn't be any surprises here," and I revealed the cards showing 1 success and 1 failure. The room instantly went into turmoil. Everyone was aghast at the fact that a 2-player mission was failed. Sarah and I quickly set into the accusations, and everyone knew that either one of us could be a spy. Mission 2 came about, and the player next to me was too unsure of both Sarah and I to put us on the team, but he did happen to pick my fellow spy. The team was approved, and the cards were revealed. Of course, my fellow spy did her job, and there was 1 failure. 2 missions in, and the spies were already 2-0. This was a rarity, considering the group's tendency to always play successes in the first round. But the Resistance did have confirmation that 1 player, we will call him Bob, had to be on their team, since he was the only player to not go on either of the missions that failed. Sarah was the next player to pick a team of 4, which had to be a perfect team or else the spies won. She picked her team, which, if memory serves, was all Resistance members, but it was denied. I had successfully created enough discord that no one trusted anybody, except for Bob, that is. The leader token made its way all the way back around to me on the 5th and final chance to make a team, or else the mission was automatically failed. The game was all mine to win. I picked my team that consisted of me, as well as all of the Resistance members, other than Sarah, of course. At this point, everyone knew that they had to approve the team or else the spies won. We all selected our success or fail cards, and I began the reveal. 1 by 1, the cards were revealed, and to basically everyone's surprise, they were all successes. Yes, I was not done with this game yet. I intentionally gave the Resistance hope that they had found the perfect team, because there was no reason for a spy to succeed on the mission. In the confusion of that moment, when all the cards came up as success, one player, funny enough, he and Bob had the same name, was so sure the game ended that he revealed that he was a member of the Resistance. So now there were 2 members of the Resistance that were known facts, and everyone else thought that we all knew the whole team. The leadership was passed to Bob 2, who only needed to pick a team of 3, so I told Bob 2 that as a sign of good faith I would approve if I wasn't on the team, but the rest of the previous team was. And it played out perfectly, with the mission being a success. Sarah was the next leader, and she picked a team that was of course rejected because she was clearly a spy. And leadership passed to Bob 1. He picked the team that succeeded Mission 3, including myself, and as it was our custom for the 5th mission, we all just revealed our alignment cards, assuming that spies will fail the mission. Everyone went from total elation to complete dread as a rather large smirk appeared across my face and I showed my spy card. Suddenly, they all knew that I had masterminded every round of that game, and they all played into my trap. After that day, they were less interested in playing the Resistance, at least with me, that is. But it did get them to branch out into other games a bit more as they searched for a new social deduction game. Okay. Bye.
So what do you think of this, Eric?
Well, this is one of the reasons why I don't play the Resistance very much.
What, because this doesn't happen very often.
No. I mean, it's pretty good. It's to have the win, to have the guts to throw the win away when you had it and go for the epic win, fooling everybody, that's pretty gutsy.
I wonder, though, if everyone's going to agree with you on that. I think some people are going to think the guy's being a jerk.
What, for taunting them?
He's dragging the game out. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
I don't know. I think it's good.
Are you sure? I'm not sure, Eric. I'm not sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be angry. I mean, that was taking quite a risk. What if something crazy had happened and he didn't get the teams to work the way that he had expected them to? Yes, he was cackling internally, thinking he had them all played, and he did. But if somebody had, caught on to him.
But how would they catch on to him? What he did there is like, oh, well, you just proved that you are innocent.
Yeah. But, you're not proven innocent until you're actually...
But to me, this would ruin future games of this with this particular guy.
That's, true.
Because he's playing like a wild card.
Well, he was playing like a spy. I think if you're the spy, you can be as deceptive as you want to be.
I guess. I don't know. Convince me in the forums, people. I don't know. All right, well, let's get to questions. David says he just recently purchased the new reprint of Robo Rally. He heard about the bad quality components, but the game sounded interesting, and he says he agrees with me. The component quality is just too poor to overlook. He also said that he was recently buying 10 Days in America and found a cheap version of it and was also found out that the quality was pretty poor. And so he then talks about Tom's Vassal's Law, where I say if a game's good enough, it will be reprinted, so don't worry about it. And his 2 recent experiences have me a bit concerned about this philosophy. What if a great game I missed buying is reprinted, but the reprint quality is very poor? And then there's lots of options, etc., etc., etc. And he throws in Cosmic Encounter and Merchants of Venus just to make me and Eric get on his side here.
Well, basically saying, what if the only versions of Cosmic or Merchant that were available for our grandchildren were really inexpensively produced El Cheapo versions where all the tokens are made of paper?
Well, I'd get them, and I wouldn't be happy about it, but I would get it. Actually, for my favorite game, I'd hunt the out-of-print one that was better quality.
Yeah.
I would, because it's my favorite game. This is actually the exception to the rule. In particular, Robo Rally is Hasbro. And Hasbro's just garbage, really, when it comes to their quality. They did the same thing with Acquire.
Yeah.
And several other games. Betrayal House on a Hill, Wizard of the Coast, that's not as good quality. Their Magic the Gathering board game. Obviously a dip in quality from Heroescape. But it's the exception. Most of the time when a game gets reprinted, you're like, wow, look at the reprint. Or it's a lateral. Like the new Coliseum, you might say, I like the Days of Wonder version better, but you're probably not going to say the new version is garbage.
Right.
From Tasty Minstrel. Same with their Amun Ray. I mean, most of the time when I see a reprint of a game these days, I'm like, wow. Why would I ever want to own the original edition? The reprint's so much better. So, yeah, you're right. Occasionally you get burned by that waiting for the reprint, but there's so many games out there right now, I don't see that that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, usually when the reprint comes along, it is at least a lateral move or better than the previous version. It does anger me when the new version is of a significantly lower quality than the versions before, but probably...
And you went like Eric when he's angry.
Yeah, probably this is getting the game into the hands of more people that wouldn't ordinarily be able to buy the more expensive version of the game. I mean, usually that comes with a lower price tag that should allow you to get more games into the hands of more people, in theory anyway. But I get your point, David. It is frustrating if you've been waiting for a reprint that is in many ways inferior to the one you've been pining over for all this time. And I guess you could always upgrade things yourself. There are things that can be done. It's just, it is annoying. I agree. Jared is asking about print runs. So how many games need to be sold in order for the publisher to break even or start making a profit? Is it a percentage of games that need to be sold? Does the number change based on the size of the print run? 500, 1,000, 5,000? Also, what's the standard size for a print run?
I believe the standard size is 2,000 to 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 2 more often than not, actually, these days. But it all depends on how well the company thinks it will do.
Mm-hmm.
But how many does it have to make before it breaks even? That all depends on the game. There's a gazillion factors in there.
Right.
Some people are happy just to break even. That doesn't make any sense to me. You need to make a profit.
Right.
But sometimes the profit is so small, they need to sell a ton to break even.
Right. It all depends on what the profit margin is.
For Gloomhaven, he had to sell 1. As soon as he sold that first game, that's it. We made money. No, I don't. What? There was like a magic number out there. I forget what the number is, but there was a number that was out there. I want to say it was I forget what it is, but when you get the money, like if you're doing Kickstarter and you get the money to make the game, you don't make just the number of games you sold in the Kickstarter. You need to make more and above and beyond that.
Right.
Because once you go above and beyond that, it's pure profit.
Right. Also, you want to make enough profit that you can produce your next game as well.
And that's what people forget all the time.
And not have to rely as much on Kickstarter.
Right. You want to have this money to be able to put in there. Or even if you do have Kickstarter or whatever, you want to start paying for art and things ahead of time. It's hard to have a successful Kickstarter and not pay your artists. Justin says a group of people were playing Secret Hitler at his board game meetup. For those of you who don't know, Secret Hitler is a party game from the Cards Against Humanity's crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game in which I think Hitler's a lizard in this game.
Is he really a lizard?
Yeah, well, I think they did that so that it's not as offensive.
Mm.
And other people are fascists. It's like a resistance werewolf-style game. And he says, I have a few reservations about the game. Says Justin, I'm disabled, and the disabled were one of the first groups targeted by the Nazis. He says, however, I'm not totally morally opposed to playing the game. However, this particular night, I just wasn't in the mood to joke about such a heavy topic. I politely declined, even though someone was rather persistent. As I sat watching my friend finish his game so we could go home, the group playing Secret Hitler suddenly started shouting, Heil Hitler, and doing the Nazi salute. This is at a restaurant, mind you. I am now extremely reluctant to play the game in public to the point of being anxious. I don't know if I'm being oversensitive, if I'm not being fair to the game, or if I should just forget about playing the game and move on. I'm asking you because your response to such topics always seem level-headed and thought out. He's talking to you, Eric. I think most people would agree that shouting Heil Hitler in a restaurant, in a public restaurant, is in bad form.
Yes.
Eric may have been in that group. I don't know.
No. So This sort of topic has come up a few times in the past, where some sort of sensitivity to a topic crosses a threshold for a player, and suddenly you go from having fun to being uncomfortable. And unfortunately, that line falls in different places for different people. And there have been times that I've been involved in a game that has crossed that line for someone else, and I was not aware of that fact. And that gets you into some tricky places. I think Justin did the right thing. Justin felt uncomfortable, did not want to play the game, and backed off. And we need to, as game players, be respectful of that. If someone says, you know what, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this situation, to be aware of that and not, berate them for it, and maybe consider that this might not be the best circumstance to play this possibly culturally insensitive game in. People's reactions to these sorts of things are real and should be respected. And I think you probably did as best you could, Justin, in dealing with that circumstance. I would probably feel the same way. I have not played Secret Hitler. I don't really feel the need to do so. I do believe that in the box, there's ways you can change it so it's Secret Dictator instead. I don't know whether they're different cards or whether you just refer to it differently. But I do agree that shouting Heil Hitler in a restaurant is really poor taste. It just is. You just stop that.
There's some things you just got to be careful when you're in public. Like, I don't know if I'd play Secret Hitler or not. I haven't come across the opportunity yet. But I like cashing guns a lot.
Yeah.
But I would be I extremely think I would play that in the middle of a restaurant either. I would definitely not play it, let's say, at a school. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to think about where you are. I don't care if you say, "Oh, people need to live with it." No, you need to be respectful.
Mm-hmm. The other day, my son was looking through the collection. He was, we were at a game event, and he was looking through the library, and he just, spotted cash and guns in the pile. And I was like, you know what? Let's not do that. I'm not quite to the point where I want the 9-year-old pointing the guns at people yet.
You should be teaching a 9-year-old Gloomhaven.
Yeah, okay, I'll move on to that instead.
Mechs vs. Minions actually is your thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm waiting patiently every day. I check outside. It hasn't come yet, so. Sam.
Stop checking outside because there's always a box there.
You are different from most people, Tom. I'm sure. Sam says, given the understanding that King of Tokyo is a gateway-level Yahtzee King of the Hill style game, what would you consider is the next level game that a new gamer would logically proceed to after experiencing King of Tokyo? In other words, is there a heavier game in feel to that King of Tokyo? Looking forward to your thoughts on this. I think it depends on what element of King of Tokyo are you looking for? Do you want more of that Yahtzee mechanism? Do you want more King of the Hill battle mechanism? Because I don't think there's anything that's going to be next level that does both of those things. You could look at what's AEG's recent entry into this Fantasy with the spelling kind of like Yahtzee. Has some dice rolling, but a little more specific triggering of cards that you could look at.
It's almost the same level. If you want to go up a level in the dice version, I would consider La Granja, the dice game.
Mm-hmm.
Or what's it called? No Siesta?
Yes. Maybe.
Or
not quite the same mechanism, though.
Roll Through the Ages.
Yes, that probably.
If you just want the combat and you want to go up in that, I mean, there's... What's the one from Matago? Warriors.
Yep, Ultimate Warriors.
Ultimate Warriors.
With a Z.
I don't know if there's a heavier game and feel to King of Tokyo, though.
No.
Listeners,
Monster Apocalypse.
Give us this.
That's an older one, though. I don't know if you can get Monster Apocalypse anymore.
Oh, if they had a good rule set for it, maybe.
True. But it is dice rolling and monster combat.
All right, well, let's go to space. Let's go to space.
Let's do it. And now, it's time for the top 10 list.
The Dice Tower's Top 10 list is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc.,
Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.
Space, the final frontier. You're making that sound, Eric, and I'm looking at your list, and I see no Star Trek on your list.
It is true, and they got shortlisted. I considered them.
I had a Star Trek game for my number 11.
Okay.
Actually, I had a Star Trek game for my number 12, too. Because Fleet Captains was number 11, and number 12 was the new Star Trek. Is it Frontiers, I think it's called?
The
one that
Frontiers?
was the remake of Mage Knight, the board game.
Oh, yeah, Frontiers is the remake of Mage Knight.
Right, so those are both very good Star Trek games.
I agree. They're probably 12-ish for me.
I didn't put any Star Wars games on my list either. What's wrong
I know,
with me?
that I'm a little surprised at for you.
Yeah, I wonder if Oh, see, this was hard. This is hard because, okay, this is kind of a remake of we did science fiction before.
We did, and a lot of these showed up there.
But science fiction always leads to, what do you mean by science fiction? So I was like, all right, fine. We'll just say space. That one's much more obvious. But even that's a pretty broad category. And what's interesting is if we had done this list 15 years ago, it would have been hard.
True.
I don't think there's a single game on okay. I don't think there's a single game in our numbers 2 through 10 that were out 15 years ago.
Yes.
Actually, that is actually the case. These are all space has recently become a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, earlier in this episode, we were talking about games that are coming out this year that have people hyped. The hype for Gloomhaven is crazy, right? The hype for, what's the hype is turned on the Rising Sun now, right? The hype for that's crazy. But the hype for First Martians, man, that hype is like going bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
We might see that next week, Eric.
I'm so excited.
If he offers a chance to play that, we got to take that.
We need to. We'll just cancel a bunch of interviews. It'll be fine.
Well, no, you do the interviews.
Wait, what?
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I really would like to get a first glimpse at that one. But anyway, we're talking about games that actually already exist, and I'm already feeling like I'm going to have some omissions on my list.
I know.
These are 10 great space games. They may not be the best 10, but they're 10 great ones.
It's actually, even researching this, because I like to go through the lists on Board Game Geek to make sure I'm not missing something, because it's easy to get blind spots, and like one I had totally forgotten that ended up being pretty high up on my list. But searching under space exploration games on Board Game Geek does not contain all of the space games, because some of them show up on the science fiction list and not in space exploration, which is weird.
Actually, I searched under both simultaneously because I suspected that might be the case. And even then, I came to type my list in. Or no, I came and looked at this thing. I saw a game on Eric's list, and I was like, no, that's in my top 10.
Yeah.
So I had to change everything.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Actually messed up the Eric one that Eric put in the slot that's the same as mine that he always says happens by accident.
Oh, man, you're right. It did. Oh, now I'm
that's
sad.
An accident. All right, give us your number 10, which was my number 13.
Okay.
Number 10.
Empires of the Void is my number 10. This is one of Ryan Lockett's first games. Was this his first? This may have been Red Raven Games'
It's actually
first.
on Kickstarter right now for Empires of the Void 2.
Yes, there is a sequel, which I know nothing about, so this is not a Kickstarter preview. I'm talking about the first version here, okay? What I really like about Empires of the Void, there's some pick up and deliver sort of exploration, although you kind of see where all the planets are at the beginning of the game. But I love the different ships that you can acquire in this game. And if you are nice to the planets you discover, you can become friends with them, ally with them, and get their racial ship. They have like a single token of some super cool ships that you can, if you're nice to the planets, get as part of your fleet. And that is neat. I really like Empires of the Void. I hope he's keeping that element in the new version. It's my number 10.
Solid game. My number 10 is higher in Eric's list. So, but he stole the spot. I'll get it in a future turn.
Number 9.
My number 9 is going to show up on Tom's list in just a little bit, so I'm going to keep my dice behind my screen.
My number 9 is a nostalgic favorite, but I still really do like it, and that's the Starfarers of Catan. Starfarers of Catan is the space version of Settlers of Catan. And it's big, it's grandiose, and it's out of print.
Yeah.
It's out of print because there's just so much plastic in the box. You get an actual, like, 1950s style rocket ship. And you will roll little balls in this rocket ship. You turn it upside down, you turn them up, and the little balls come out the bottom, and that shows what kind of movement you have that round. And then you have plastic spaceships moving on this huge board, and you're establishing colonies that when you roll dice, you will get different resources, which are not wheat and brick and sheep, but they're plutonium and other things. I don't know exactly what they all were. But you get these resources and you build more ships that go out and more things. And it's very similar to Settlers of Catan, but it has a exploration aspect. Even has a story aspect. You'll get, sometimes an event will happen in a card and you have to, you meet some pirates. Are you going to fight the pirates? And then you upgrade your ship by putting guns on it and engines on it. And these are physical actual pieces that go on the ship. It's a little big and a little long probably for what it is, but I still like it a lot. That's Starfarers of Catan.
I'm actually surprised, given the continued popularity of Catan, that this hasn't seen a reprint. It just seems like it would be worth bringing back just for the hype and nostalgia alone. Give it a whirl. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Catan is owned by Asmodee now, so we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah. I haven't actually played Starfarers, but I was considering Starship Catan, the two-player space version of Catan, as one of my selections. It's probably in the teens somewhere.
Number 14.
Yep.
I'm just making numbers up now, but
why not?
Yes,
Sure.
Short list for me.
Number 8.
Gravwell is my number 8, and what makes this a terrific space game is that one of its primary mechanisms is the gravitational pull of stellar objects. And you're playing cards simultaneously and moving in sequence, but you're drawing yourself toward the closest stellar object. And there actually is, to do well in this game, you have to do sort of a neat slingshot deal and anticipating what your opponents are going to do, where these pieces are going to be when your card activates. It's tricky, but when it works, you really feel like you're moving through space and using those planetary bodies to move around. It's neat. And unlike pretty much anything else on these lists, Gravwell, my number 8.
My number 8 is higher on Eric's list because I reordered my list.
Number 7.
You just didn't want that effect anymore. It's Zaya. Number 7 for me, number 8 for Tom. This is the sandbox space game. You can pick up, you can deliver, you can explore, you can do dangerous things so that you roll the D20 more often and hope to earn victory points that way, which is a viable strategy, although you might explode. You never know. I love all of the little ships in this game. The painted ships are all different with different layouts and designs, and I'm still waiting patiently for that expansion to come out soon. It's really a very pretty game and well produced and an adventure. It feels like an adventure. Zaya, my number 7.
Yeah, the sandboxing of this is just amazing. It's fun. It really feels like a space game. It's sprawling, possibly a little too sprawling, but I think it's the best pick-up and delivery space game there is.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What?
No exceptions. All right, my number 7 is Galaxy Trucker. Yeah, build a spaceship, see the world, watch it get blown to pieces. Galaxy Trucker is just a funny game for me. I like building my spaceship. I like seeing it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some very satisfying moments when your spaceship does not get blown to pieces because you did a good job at building that thing. But more often than not, you'll be like, oh yeah, I probably should have put something there. And oh, I didn't realize my ship was attached by that piece. And now half of the ship just broke off and drifted away. I'll be okay. I'm going to go cry in a corner. Wait, that corner's gone. I really do like it, though. It's an actually really fun game. That is Galaxy Trucker.
I enjoyed the game, but Galaxy Trucker did make it onto the sale pile for me recently. It's, I don't know, a couple of those rogue asteroids just hit me a little too close to home recently.
Number 6.
My number 6 is Eclipse, another sprawling game there with so many customization options for your various ships. That's the element that I really like to dig into. Do you make this tiny little mosquito with a ton of lasers, but no shields, or do you make a tank with a bunch of hull and that moves slowly, but it's going to get there and just destroy everything with a horde of missiles? really cool with the racial abilities, the different alien races. It's been poo-pooed a lot lately. I mean, I guess a lot of people like other games and the way that they handle this particular subject, but I'm still a fan of Eclipse, my number 6.
I don't know that's been poo-pooed a lot. I mean, I'll always say, I like this game better.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think overall it's still pretty well looked at.
Sure.
My number 6 is a game I really love, and yet I'm not going to play as much because Captain Sonar has really beat the pants off it.
Yeah.
And that's Space Cadets Dice Duels. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Space Cadets Dice Duels is great. It's just that Captain Sonar is like the exact same genre. Mm-hmm. And I like it better. But Space Cadets Dice Duels is still a lot of fun. You have 2 teams going up against each other. They're all working part of a ship. They're rolling dice as fast as they can. The ships are moving around. They're shooting at each other. Oh, it's really entertaining. You can play with a few people, but it's best played with a big group of people all shouting and yelling at each other.
Right.
Really, really enjoy this one, especially in a convention setting. Space Cadets Dice Duels.
Yes, this was my number 11. Really enjoy it, and I especially enjoy it with the Die Fighter expansion, where you've got the one person in a tiny little ship, and they're taking a bunch of dice and doing their own little thing, zipping around the board and trying to take pot shots at the enemy. That's fun.
Number 5.
My number 5 is going to show up on Tom's list in just a little bit, and now that I have 6 oxygen tiles on the board, I think he'll be able to talk about it.
My number 5 is Twilight Imperium 3. Look, yes, it takes 8 hours. It's really long. All right, there's no question on that. It actually takes less than 8 hours if you play with 4 players. I think I'm playing with 4 players who already know how to play the game from now on. And you're like, Vassal, you need to teach new people how to play the game. Nah, someone else can teach him. Eric can teach him. Eric's never played Twilight Imperium.
Never.
It's too long for him, even though some of his games are pretty long.
It's true.
But it's big, it's grandiose, it's sprawling, it's a big giant space epic, and no space epic has come close to it. Eclipse is a shorter version to some degree, and so is my number 4, which I like a little bit better because it's shorter. But if you just want pure a gazillion things to do and just the whole epic galaxy fighting, Twilight Imperium 3 is your man. If you want a 2-player version that's shorter, Star Wars Rebellion comes pretty close.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Firefly.
8-hour game. 8-hour game.
It's not that long.
It could
Maybe
be.
closer to 4 or 5. Firefly is epic. It is epic in scope. It is sort of an interstellar scavenger hunt. As you build a crew and go on missions, hunt down people. It is a little bit of pick up and deliver, but it's more of an adventure than that. And I really just love the way it's all laid out, and it really feels like the show. Just a fantastic production. I think it doesn't have as wide an appeal as some were hoping it would. I think you really need to embrace the theme, be a fan of the theme, which it does just amazingly. So that's my number 4. Firefly.
My number 4 is the smaller Twilight Imperium, and that's Exodus Proxima Centauri. Especially with the expansion. They have a second expansion about to come out. I have not played that one yet. But the first expansion added asymmetrical races, which I liked a lot for this game. So I really like these bigger, grandiose games. Exodus is closer to 2 to 3 hours, not as long as the 6 to 8 hours that Twilight is. Of course, it's not as grandiose, but still very fun. Get to build your ships. It completely destroyed Eclipse for me. I think there's some differences between them. Eclipse is more economic, but there's still some economic things in Exodus. I like it a lot. Exodus Proxima Centauri, which is a actual epic game. Just saying.
Number 3.
My number 3 is smaller in scope than many of these others. That's Tiny Epic Galaxies. Yes, I mean, the whole Tiny Epic series gets under Tom's skin because that's their marketing plan. I really
do like this game, though. Don't get me wrong.
That's what they're trying to do. This is a dice rolling game. You're trying to colonize planets, and there's an economic system. You're trying to gain resources in order to do stuff, increase the strength of your empire. What I think really makes this thing land, every time I think about this game, I get the warm fuzzies. This one is really a strong design. What I love about it is if you can keep your culture economy moving and you manage to keep culture in your empire, you can play actions on other people's turns, which keeps everybody involved throughout the entire course of the game. And that is the key to doing well in this game, is keeping that economy rolling so that you can take advantage of what your opponents are doing too. And maintaining that and keeping that balance and knowing when to pounce when your opponents do something is key in Tiny Epic Galaxies. This is a fantastic game, my number 3.
It's very good. I don't like the fact that it's called Epic, but it's closer to being epic than all the rest of them. And yeah, I still wish it was like made in a Ticket to Ride size box. I would so be all over that. It would actually be in my collection if it was that size.
Really? But it could fit better in the size that it is.
Yeah, but I want to put it out on the table and be able to move the pieces around without using tweezers or like my pinky finger.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. It's not, but I don't know what it is. Sometimes a game feels like it should be bigger.
Okay. This doesn't bother me at all. Although it is a little annoying that when the expansion finally comes, you're going to need a second box to put it in. That's fine.
Anyway, my number 3 is a tie between Roll for the Galaxy and Race for the Galaxy.
Oh, you've combined them.
Well, you know, it's an any given day thing at this point. You know, I think I like Roll for the Galaxy a little bit better than Race for the Galaxy because I like the dice. And I like, you know, you roll these dice and you're slowly building up your galaxy and everything. But Race for the Galaxy, when you play it, it's just so fast. It's so smooth, you know? They're both really good. So probably Roll for the Galaxy I like a little bit better. But if someone knows what they're doing, we can play a game of Race really fast.
I agree. This was my number 9. Roll for the Galaxy was my number 9. I've sort of settled on Roll being the superior design, but I'll still play Race. And what really makes this a good space game for me, because mechanically it doesn't really matter that you're colonizing planets and stuff, but the art design and the theming here really works. I like that you've got this terraforming robots card, and you get this cool illustration of what these robots are doing and the various cultures. There's a bunch of aliens having a rave on one of those cards. It's fun. The art is really cool in both of the two games, but I prefer Roll, my number 9.
Number 2.
Number 2, Tom mentioned as his number 10, and that's Alien Frontiers. This one still stands up as my favorite dice-rolling worker placement game. It flows really well. The art design is really cool, that classic sci-fi feel. Resource management, there's a little bit of area control, and then the puzzle of trying to get your roll of the dice to do what you want to do on a particular turn. Sometimes that's going to work, and sometimes it's not. Really a big fan here. Alien Frontiers, my number 2.
Great game. Can't say enough good things about it. It's just fun to place the dice out. The expansions really help out a lot, though. I think I wouldn't even play without the factions expansions at this point.
Okay.
Just because I like that whole asymmetrical setup.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have that thing. If you make asymmetrical sides for a game, I'm probably going to like it that way better.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 is the one that for some reason wasn't on my list. And when I saw it on Eric's list, I was like, oh, well, duh.
It's funny. I missed it as well on my first pass and had to stick it back in.
And that's Terraforming Mars from Stronghold/Fricks Games. Terraforming Mars is, well, the name is very apt. You are terraforming Mars.
You're terraforming Mars, yeah.
And maybe this isn't a space game, Eric?
Well, you are in space. I guess you're just on a planet. I guess you're not in space anymore. There are asteroids.
Yeah, okay. But I could see someone arguing that, this is no more space than, if it was called Terraforming Earth, would we consider that a space game?
There are moon colonies.
Oh, this game is amazing, no. Every time I play it, I get pumped. It's another engine building game, which I like a little bit better than Race for the Galaxy, which is why but there's a lot of similarities between them, except Terraforming Mars feels like a big, meaty game.
Yeah,
Eric's number 5.
Yeah, it was my number 5. It's really good and tricky to get your economy working the way you want it to, and getting the synergies of those cards. And when you do manage to make that happen, it feels really good. And depending on how competitive your opponents are going to be on board position and resources, and who is going to claim some of those trophies, there's just a lot of moving pieces and ways to earn points here. and not paying attention to your opponent as he builds that unstoppable engine can be detrimental in terraforming Mars. Really a solid game.
And finally, number 1.
My number 1 is Leave It to Beaver, Rocket to the Moon, which is based on the television... No, of course not. It's Merchant of Venus. Of course it's Merchant of Venus. You fly around in spaceships and buy and sell stuff. You explore. You upgrade your ship. You run into space debris, and you try and do it faster than your opponents. It's efficiency. It's exploration. It's awesome. Merchant of Venus, my number 1.
Since we're here, and it's episode 497, I'm going to do a public service announcement on the behalf of Eric.
Really?
If you, Dice Tower listener, we love to hear from you guys. We love to get emails. We love to get tweets. We love to hear Facebook posts. We just love that feedback. But Disney World has been around a really long time. And when you go visit Disney World and you see the store called Merchants of Venus, you will be like, oh, I bet Eric has never heard of this. I promise you, he has. And your tweet,
yes.
Facebook post, email will not be the first time he's got it. And while it was funny the first 20 times.
It's more than 20, yeah.
It's no longer a joke. And I get a kick out of it. I think it's funny. Okay, don't get me wrong.
I'm not annoyed. It's just funny that somebody thinks it's the first time I've seen it. That's all. That's funny. They get a tweet back that says ding because the ticker has just gone up 1. Although I'm visiting Disney World with my family for the first time next month, and I will be getting a picture of myself next to the gift shop. It's going to happen.
Wait, you're visiting Disney World?
For the first time next month during spring break.
We're not going to meet up? Oh, man.
Well, we haven't made plans.
Oh, I'm probably going to be out of town anyway, but...
Probably.
Cool. Well, you should take a picture with it and be like, hey, look, Eric. Oh, wait, I am Eric.
Ding, ding. What'd you pick as your number 1, Tom?
My number 1's Cosmic Encounter.
Of course it is.
We did not pick this list to talk about our favorite games. I go back in time and try to pick lists that we need to redo. And this, like I said, this is our last normal list. Our list, you'll see. We'll talk about episode 500.
So what about Cosmic makes it a better space game than the others on your list?
Well, I thought about that, all right? I thought about, should I pick one that's the most spacey, right? But I couldn't do that. It was too confusing after a while. Did you try to do that?
I tried to.
I put them in order of how much I liked the game.
Yeah.
If I was picking the one that was the most spacey, I'd probably have to pick Zaya.
Okay.
Yours actually is legit because you put Merchant of Venus is number 1, but like Alien Frontiers isn't that spacey. You could change the theme in it and it wouldn't be that different.
Yeah, I mean you're colonizing a planet.
Yeah, I understand that, but you could be getting resources to build a castle for the king.
You're getting alien technology.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
Cosmic has the alien races. I totally get that. I mean, if that element of the game, the interaction of those aliens, is what's really that's the meat of the game. So that's a better space game than others.
Because I didn't want to, and for the love of all that's holy, please do not let this devolve into another Tom and Eric need to make a Hall of Fame games that they don't mention a top 10 thing. But I didn't want to pick it because I wanted to talk about games about that I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, Cosmic, yeah, it's got to be my number 1. Okay, fine. What's the rest?
Yeah.
But I do like it. I do think of it as a space game, right? You are aliens that have weird powers and there's spaceships and stuff. But they just did retheme it as Game of Thrones.
They did, yes.
It's not as good as Game of Thrones, although obviously it was good enough to get an expansion announced, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, all right. Well, that's that. That's the end of episode 497. Oh, no, it's not. Let's see what the contributors say.
Let's do that.
Hi, Luke from the Broken Meeple, and space is such a broad category with a lot of games that are set in space, but don't really feel like a space game. So this was a tricky one to just pick one. But for me, I'm taking Forbidden Stars as the one that I would choose if I want the crux of a space game. So building ships, doing space battles and land battles, bit of negotiation, bit of conquering and being unique and encountering alien races. Forbidden Stars takes the spot for me.
It's Roy Caney from Epic Gaming Night, and for me, it's definitely Twilight Imperium 3. This is the space epic 4X game where you have galactic senates and you're trying to build up your space civilization, building ships and getting new technologies in a giant tech tree. Epic space 4X game that takes a long time to play, but is worth scheduling. So for me, Twilight Imperium 3.
Hey, this is Paul Owen of Dice Tower News. My favorite space game is Merchant of Venus. Sounds a little corny. In fact, it's more the pick up and deliver format that interests me than the science fiction itself. But the fact is, that's the quintessential pick up and deliver game. And the space setting is just fun. My favorite space game, Merchant of Venus.
I'm Isaac Shalev.
And I'm Stephanie Straw.
From Onboard Games. Steph, what's your favorite space game?
My favorite space game is Alien Frontiers by Tori Neiman. I like it because I really enjoyed dice placement, and it has a little bit of card drafting and area control.
Well, as for me, it's going to be High Frontier, Phil Eklund's head-scratching masterpiece. This is a game that's got everything I'm looking for in space. A gorgeous board, exploration, surprise, and some complexity. I really like my games crunchy, and High Frontier delivers.
It looks like we really like Space Frontiers.
Well, that'll do it from us on Board Games.
Hey, this is Mike Rudman from Bonus Action, and my favorite space game is Zaya, Legends of a Drift System. This sandbox-style game has something for every gaming style. You can get victory points for just about anything. You can play pick up and deliver. You can deck out your ship with various combinations of weapons, shields, and other upgrades. You can play explorer. You can be aggressive and just blow away any other ship in your path. You can even get a point for just rolling a natural 20, which is sort of ridiculous, but somehow works in this game. Check it out.
Hey there, this is Graham from Four Corners of the Board. Now, it took me a little while to figure out what my favorite space game is, as it's not usually a genre I tend to migrate to. Then I remember that Race for the Galaxy is a space game. Now, it may not be bringing a space theme, hey, but it's there. As this is in my top 5 games of all time, there's no contest for this category. Race for the Galaxy is my favorite space game.
This is Professor Scott Rogers of A Biography of a Board Game. And what is my favorite space-themed board game? Tom, would it be a conflict of interest if I mentioned my first published board game called Ray Guns and Rocket Ships from IDW Games? You fly rocket ships in outer space, and you send your crew out into outer space on jetpacks to fight each other. There's space all over that game. All right, I guess it is. I guess I'll just sit this one out.
Hey, this is Sean from Game Pit here, and my favourite space game is Eclipse from Notaplet.fi. Why is that? Well, because it combines the theatre of the exploration and the combat with those Euro mechanics, the economic and efficiency, and it combines them really well. They're seamless in the game. I absolutely love this game. It's not just my favourite space game, it's one of my favourite games.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Zielinski, and my favorite space board game, gonna be Space Hulk by Games Workshop. Without a doubt. It's now in its 4th edition. It used to always be in limited editions, and it was very hard to get a hold of, but now it's pretty easy to get a hold of. It's fantastic. You are some Space Marine Terminators trying to wipe out the alien menace. A great time, a great shoot 'em up. Just a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, check it out. Space Hulk.
Nice blatant self-promotion from Scott Rogers there.
Sure. Boo. Yeah, they pretty much did the same thing. Forbidden Stars is another one on my short list for sure. Space Hulk is one of those ones. This whole space thing. I gotta move past this. Next time we do a top 10 space games, I'm gonna be more specific.
Okay.
I'm gonna say games that have too much space in the box.
It's
a totally different.
That's a different list.
That'd actually be an interesting list, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be. I mean, it would break down into like measures of cubic space, but there have been some epic, way too much space in the box. Oh man, now I'm thinking of games now. Splendor would be one.
That's right, because you can like package Splendor into like a really small container.
Yeah, it actually fits in like an eighth of the size of that box. But yeah, I'm sure there would be a lot of interesting ones. There's probably geek lists about that.
Yeah, probably. Well, anyhow.
So what did the people say on this one, Tom?
Shut up, Eric.
What?
We might have forgotten to take the votes for the people's choice. So I'll tell you what the people would have picked. For number 1, they would have probably picked Star Wars Rebellion and Terraforming Mars. And they would have also picked
Merchant of Venus. They probably would have picked Cosmic.
Not the top 3 or 4, no. Maybe Roll for the Galaxy, maybe. Firefly might have made the list.
Zaya.
I don't know if Zaya would have made the list or not. Who knows? We need to get to a different episode. Anyway, folks, we really appreciate you listening. Stay tuned. Things are about to get exciting. Don't forget to watch our live feeds. Unless, of course, you pause this, did go watch the live feeds, and are now listening to this later.
Right. Thank you for watching the live feeds.
And if you missed the live feeds, don't worry about it. They're on YouTube. You can go watch them later.
They are the beauty of archiving. You just won't be able to chat with us.
That's right. All right. Anyway, well, you can always chat with us in Slack, except we're not there often, but other people are there. So you can always join our Slack group. Email dicetower@gmail.com and we'll add you. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 497, was recorded on March 8th, 2017. Coming up next week, what game would you want to play with me or Tom? Find out what our contributors have to say. Support for this podcast comes from listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. Find out more about the fund's mission and how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom and me, with production assistance from Jason Thompson, Itai Perez, Eric Matthews, and Rob Searing. Our theme was composed by Timothy Pinkham. Our search for the perfect storm sounds is provided by Thunder's Tone Quest. And hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. We love feedback. Visit the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Email us at dicetower@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook. And of course, you can find more from the Dice Tower Network, including Board Gamers Anonymous, Board Game Corner, the Push Your Luck Podcast, Rolling Dice and Taking Names, the Geek All-Stars, Dukes of Dice, Our Turn, and Board Game Breakfast at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. So why didn't you put any Star Wars games on your list?
Well, Star Wars games, most of them take place on a planet, right? Well, not most of them. Like Star Wars Queen's Gambit's on a planet. That's not a space game.
Okay.
Oh, but there is stuff in space in it, Anakin.
There is.
And X-Wing, I don't know.
Oh, X-Wing would have been a good one, huh? That's definitely a space game.
Imperial
Boy, we messed
Assault.
up.
Next episode.